I'm Marin, and this is Post-its and Pens. Hello, and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin, and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. In today's video, I am going to take you through my June reading recap. I am going to try to go kind of rapid fire through the books that I read. I did participate in Whateverathon, so I am going to go ahead and include the prompts that I was able to achieve with the books that I read over here, just to kind of give a little wrap up of that readathon as well. So let's go ahead and get into the video. To start off, I am going to go ahead and just say up front that I made a couple of switches with titles for the readathon. So if you watched my June TBR, which I will link up in the cards, you will see that some of the books that I had picked to fulfill prompts I actually didn't get to because I made some swaps. So I will indicate that at the end. I will let you know the books that I was supposed to read and didn't read, just to kind of, again, do a full wrap up of Whateverathon. So the first book that I read in the month of June was Maid of Secrets by Jennifer McGowan. I will put the cover here as it was a library book and I have already returned it. So basically this book tells the tale of a girl who is arrested and brought into Queen Elizabeth I's court to become one of her spies. And basically the adventure that she goes on as she's trying to adjust to this new life and figure out where she fits in. So I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars, and it worked for the prompt of debut novel for Whateverathon. The second book that I read in June is The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. This is the first book chronologically in the Chronicles of Narnia series, but I believe it was actually published 6th, if I'm not mistaken. This was for the prompt of a comfort read, and it also was for the prompt of color on the cover matches your team color. So I was on Team Dreams and Drama Queens, and the color for that team was green, so this was pretty much the perfect fit. And this was a reread for me, and just like the first time, I gave it 4 stars. I think it is a fun little adventure story, and it's very cool to see the beginning of Narnia, which is basically what this is about. The third book that I finished was actually an audiobook, and it was Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stiefvater, which I'll put the cover here. So this is book 2 in her Dreamer trilogy. So this trilogy follows Ronan specifically, as well as his brothers. We meet some other characters as well. I'm not really going to talk too much about this one because of spoilers, but I will say I did not like it quite as much as Call Down the Hawk, so I gave it 4 stars. And it filled the prompt for a 5-star prediction, which was initially supposed to be filled by the book Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys, which I did not end up reading. So this was one of the books that I made a swap for. The fourth book that I read was the book Entwined by Heather Dixon. It's an ebook, so again, here's the cover. This one was another 5-star prediction read. This book was actually on my 21 books that I want to read in 2021 video, which I will link up in the cards. And I really liked this one. I gave it 4 stars as it was a little bit slow to get started, but once you hit about the halfway point, I just flew through it. So this book is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses fairy tale, and that is one of my favorite fairy tales, so I really enjoyed the book. Nice whimsical atmosphere, lots of things going on, drama, intrigue, action, adventure. The main character is really well written, and I especially liked that the author was able to really give distinct personalities to all 12 princesses, which kudos to her because I'm sure that was not easy. But this book, again, was a 5-star prediction, but it also fulfilled the prompt for the last letter of the previous book matches the first letter of the next book. So I had read Mr. Impossible, which ends with the letter E, and then I read Entwined immediately after so that the E's matched up. The fifth book that I read was Creators by Tiffany Truitt. Again, cover here. It was a library book. This is the third book in the Lost Souls trilogy, so I can't really go too much in depth on this book specifically. But basically, this is set in like a post-apocalyptic type world, if you will. They have created these super soldiers, if you will, which are made to be incredibly attractive. They are very, very strong, and they've been raised to believe that humans, so actual human beings, are beneath them, especially women. So basically, this follows the story of Tess. She lives in an isolationist type community, but she is captured and sent to live with these creators and their chosen ones, which is what it's basically called. That's what their special soldiers are called, the chosen ones. And she winds up falling in love with them. So that in love with one of them. I'm sorry. So that was the first book. And then obviously the trilogy just follows her journey. So in the end, I gave this one 4 stars. I did not love the ending of this. So yeah, it was a really well-written book. I really, really liked Tess and her journey, but the ending, yeah, I didn't love the ending, hence the 4 stars instead of 5 stars. So the prompt that this one actually fulfilled for Whateverathon was an indie/self-published book. This book is published by Entangled Teen, and Entangled is an independent publisher. And I swapped this one for the original pick. Originally, I was supposed to read Brightest Kind of Darkness by P.T. Michelle, which was a self-published book, but when this one came in from the library, I went ahead and read it instead. So again, that was another swap. The 6th book that I read in June was With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This one fulfilled 2 prompts, so it had POC rep, and it was also my poll pick, and I can see why people love this one. So I really, really enjoyed this book. I liked the characters. I liked how real and authentic it felt. And in the end, I gave this one 5 stars. If you would like to see my thoughts a little bit more in depth, I did read this one for a reading vlog, which I can link up in the cards. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. Definite 5-star read. The next book that I read in June, the 7th book, was March, Book 1 by John Lewis. Again, cover here. It's a library book. I read a lot of library books this month. And again, this one was another 5-star read for me. So this one fulfilled, again, 2 prompts. It had POC rep. It was also out of my comfort zone because I do not typically read graphic novels, but this was a really accessible way to learn John Lewis's history, to learn about all of the things that he went through as he was fighting for civil rights. And I have the 2nd volume on my July TBR, which I can link up in the cards if you want to check it out. And I'm very excited to see how his story continues. Book 8 for the month of June was Great Goddesses, Life Lessons from Myths and Monsters by Nikita Gill. This was a book of poetry, so it fulfilled the prompt of out of my comfort zone because I do not read poetry. I went with this one because it was about Greek mythology, which I love. However, this book did not really work for me. So in terms of it being a poetry book, I felt like it really fell flat. That it really was very disconnected. There didn't really seem to be any cohesion between the poems, and I did not like it on that front. However, if you read it as like a feminist retelling of Greek myths, it does much better. But because it is a poetry book, I went ahead and gave it 3 stars. Again, the poetry aspect just did not work for me. And even though I found some of the poems interesting, there were a few lines here and there that kind of stood out to me. All in all, it just was not that great. The 9th book that I read was The Once and Future Witches by Alix E. Harrow. This one fulfilled a few different prompts. So this was a buddy read, as I buddy read it with a bunch of other people on Discord. I also had it on there as a Bookish Creators favorite because it is Maddie from Book Browsing Blog's favorite book, or one of her favorite books, and I can see why she likes it so much. This one was wonderful. I gave this one 5 stars. It is such a great story. It's character driven, but also plot driven. There is a lot going on. It is basically the suffragist movement, but with witches. And I just really, really loved it. It is very, very long, so be forewarned when you go in. It's very, very long. I listened to the audiobook for the majority of it, though, which was well done. So well done. I really, really loved the audio. So definitely recommend this one. It was my favorite of all the ones that I read this month. So 5 stars for the Once and Future Witches. The 10th book that I read was A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sara Barnard. This one fulfilled the prompt for either mental health representation or a disability representation, and it actually was both of them combined into one book. So this tells the story of 2 teenagers, one who is selectively mute and has a lot of mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and the other character is deaf. So it basically talks about how they are stuck together to help the deaf student out when he first comes to the new school, because she can use a little bit of British Sign Language, so they are kind of paired together because the principal thinks that that would be a great idea, and they wind up becoming friends and slowly falling in love with each other. So I really, really loved this one. I can't speak to the accuracy of how selective mutism or deafness was portrayed, but for me, it was really, really well done. I gave this one 5 stars. If you're a fan of contemporaries, I would say check it out. The 11th book that I read is Incarnate by Jodie Meadows. This one fulfilled the prompt for cover remind you of a pride flag. So this has the bisexual pride colors in it with the blue, purple, and pink. So that was the prompt that this one fulfilled. This one is the first in a trilogy. I have had this sitting on my shelves since 2013, maybe, and never read it. So I decided to go ahead and pick this one up. This is also an author's debut, but that's not a prompt that I used for this one. And I'm not really sure what I think about this one. So I liked it well enough. It was a fairly quick read, but there's some things that happen in the book that kind of made me side-eye a little bit. The main male character in this book, for some reason, just believes the absolute best of Anna, and so the whole point of this is that Anna lives in a world where people are reincarnated. However, when Anna was born, instead of being a reincarnation, she was a new soul, or they call her a no soul. So she's basically lived her entire life being physically and emotionally abused by her mother, and she decides on her 18th birthday that she's going to take off and try to discover the truth of who she is and where she comes from. And along the way, she meets Sam, and Sam is just like in love with her, basically, from the get-go. He thinks the best of her. He keeps telling her that she's a great person. And it's just kind of odd because how does he know? Like, I don't know. It just felt very odd. I'm not going to go too much more into detail, so this one was just weird. I, in the end, gave this one 3 stars. If I could round up, it would be 3.5 stars. It does have an interesting story. I am curious to see where it goes, so I will be reading the second book, but yeah, this one was just kind of strange. Book number 12 for the month of June was Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. Cover here. This one I read just because honestly everyone keeps talking about it. It also obviously has LGBTQIA plus representation, which you got extra points if you had books that had that kind of rep in it. So I decided to pick it up, see what the hype was all about. I liked it. It's cute. I will read the second volume. I wasn't like blown away by it, but I'm curious to see where the story goes. And again, I gave it 4 stars. And the last book that I read in the month of June was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. So this book fulfilled the prompt of hauled in the past year. I did not purchase hardly any books last year, but this was one of them that I decided to go with. This is a mystery slash thriller, so we follow Laurel, whose daughter disappeared when she was 16, 15, 16, I can't quite remember. And basically we flip between when Ellie disappeared and present time. So I had the mystery aspect of this figured out probably, I don't know, midway through. There were still some twists and turns that I did not see coming. So in that respect, it definitely was that mystery thriller vibe that I was looking for. I did really enjoy this. I gave it 4 stars. And I'm very excited to read more from her because she has a bunch of other books that she's written, and I've heard some pretty good things about her as an author. Since I did like this one, I'm curious to see what else she's written and if I like those as well. Okay, now let's talk about the 2 books that I did not finish in the month of June. So I will give you more thoughts in my July reading recap. But the first one was All Our Yesterdays by Kristen Terrell. This is sci-fi with some time travel. I really liked this one. Again, I will give you a full wrap up later on next month when I do my July recap. But I finished this one July 1st, so I just missed the end of Whateverathon. I was really trying to savor this one though, didn't want to rush through it. So this is one that I did not finish for Whateverathon, but this would have been another debut title. And the last book that I did not finish was Truth or Dare by Jacqueline Greene. This one I am not very far into. I am 100 pages in, and I am really torn on whether I want to finish this or not. So basically, in the first 100 pages, hardly anything's happened. And for something that's supposed to be, again, like a mystery thriller type title, I just need more action. I don't love one of the characters who we have to read their point of view. I'm kind of meh on the other 2. Yeah, I don't know. This will quite possibly become a DNF, but this was supposed to be for the prompt of a TBR game prompt. So I'd actually spun my wheel, landed on a contemporary, which is what I picked this for. And y'all, I don't know. I'm just really not feeling this one. So I'm going to give it another 100 pages and then make a decision. But yeah, this may be my second DNF of the year. So stay tuned for next month's wrap up and I will let you know then. So those were all of the books that I read in the month of June and all of the books that I read for Whateverathon. So I did wind up achieving my goal. So I had set a goal to read 8 books for the readathon, and I actually read 13. So I achieved deity status. I believe I had like 7,500 points that I earned for our team. And all in all, I'm feeling pretty proud of that, even if I didn't finish all of the books that I initially planned to finish. So go me! Thank you, Maddie, for running such a fantastic readathon. I had so much fun, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what comes next in terms of another readathon that I might want to take part in. Now, before I wrap this video up, I'm going to do a very tiny book haul. I am not buying books this year. That's one of the things that I'm not allowed to purchase. However, I got this idea to do a childhood read-along type thing, childhood readathon. I don't really know what I want to call it, but basically I want to reread some childhood favorites. So the first one that I picked up was a Christopher Pike book. It is this book right here, Die Softly. Y'all, I loved this book when I was in like middle school. This was like my introduction into thriller slash mysteries, and I'm curious to see if it still stands up. And yeah, I just decided to go ahead and pick it up off Amazon to give it a reread and see what I still think of it many years later. The other one that I picked up was Betrayal by Rl Stein. This one actually has 3 books in one, and it is the Fear Street Saga. So this one tells the story of how Fear Street came to be haunted, I believe. I read, I think, all 3 of these when I was younger. Again, this would be another reread. I'm thinking about doing a vlog where I read these, and I will let you know later, but I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do like a reading vlog where I go back through, reread these childhood favorites, see if they still withstand the test of time. But those are the 2 that I picked up. I have also picked up another Rl Stein book, which is another Fear Street one, not the Fear Street Saga, but regular Fear Street, I think. I can't quite remember. It's another one that has 3 books in one, though, and that book will also be part of that reading vlog. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure if that's going to come this month or next month. We'll just see how my reading shakes out, but I wanted to go ahead and pick those up, even though it's technically breaking my no-buy rules for not buying books, but at least I'm going to use them in a vlog, right? And then the last 2 things I picked up were these really cute bookmarks. So we have Blathers and Celeste. They also have backsides here. And I picked these up from LIANNE at the Novel Menagerie. So I will put her little logo right here. I love her channel. I love her book reviews, her vlogs, all of that, and I just really wanted to support her small business. So she does have an Etsy shop. It is currently closed for a few weeks, but I'm going to link it down below just in case you'd like to check it out once she reopens. But I just thought these were the cutest little Animal Crossing bookmarks. I love Animal Crossing. I also realized I've lost almost all of my bookmarks, and since I'm reading predominantly library books, that's kind of a problem. So I went ahead and picked these up to support her. Again, here's her logo. I will leave her shop and her channel linked below, although I feel like a lot of people probably know who she is. She's a delight. So thank you to LIANNE for such cute bookmarks. And that is the end of this video. So hopefully I went through it fast enough that you didn't get bored. It was a lot of books to try to get through. I do not think that I'm going to be reading that many in the month of July, but we'll see how it goes. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more from me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.